Okay, so we take a look at a new topic, which is how to create distributions from data. So if we have like a data set, so how do we create a frequency distribution? What is a frequency? Frequency basically is a number of counts, like how many people, how many patients with for outbreak, foodborne outbreak, how many ate noodles, how many people ate fish, and for the clinical information, maybe how many people have fever, how many people have diarrhea, that kind of information. So usually each class in Excel is called beans. Yeah, each category is called beans or groups. And let's first take a look at this data set, which is dealing with category data. You see here, I have the data for this is 50 soft drink purchases. So somebody recorded for maybe one particular afternoon. That's all the data. Now, given this data, so you can open up the data set. So we would like actually to, well, I mean, we would like to have a table like this, so it's very clear, like Coca-Cola is 19 people purchased, Diet Coke 8. So give us a very clear picture how many people are purchased. But given a data set like this, and not only this is it's called just the counts, but sometimes we are also interested in what relative frequency or percentage. That's now what is a relative frequency? If you look at it here, so total is 50, right? So Coca-Cola 19 out of 50, so we can get a relative frequency. And Diet Coke 8 out of 50, right? And Dr. Pepper is 5 out of 50, which is 10%. I mean 10%. So we can generate a different table. This is, you can see here, relative frequency, and this is the percentage frequency. The total amount is 1. Yeah. So for Coca-Cola, it's 38%. Among all those people purchased, 50 people. Diet Coke is 16%. 16, yeah, or 16%. Dr. Pepper is 10%. Pepsi is 26%, and Sprite is 10%. So it would be very useful for us to create a table like this. But now the question is how to create this table. And I'm going to open up a database which is called the top. Hold on, let me see the folder. Excuse me. My PC. Yeah. Okay, found it. So you will be able to have this data to your top soft drinks. Yeah, this is the soft drinks. So in this case, I have a data like this, so you can see the count. Actually, if you see the count, you can see here the number of the data value. You can see right over here. It's 50, yeah, 50. But how do we summarize this? So what we can do is, I can, for example, I can put the category here. Let me review the table. Hold on, let me close this one. So I can, so I would like to generate a tables like this, yeah. So the beans are the categories. Beans is Coca-Cola, Diet Coke. Okay. So I type beans here. Beans. Okay. And so I have Coke here. You just can copy, yeah. Copy. What else? Diet Coke. And what's next? Dr. Pepper, Pepsi, Dr. Pepper, Pepsi, and Pepsi. What else? Sprite. Okay. Sprite. Let me just copy. Yeah. Okay. So we have the beans or the classes. Now, how do we count? Well, you can count by hand. Yeah. But that's not efficient. So actually in Excel we have a formula. The formula is called count if. So you can type, for any Excel formula, you always start with equal sign. So you type count, C-O-U-N-T, if. Once you have count if, you can see, and then put a parenthesis, the first part. You see the data, the function reminds you that you need a range. So where is the data? And what's the criteria? Well, the range of data is from where? We can highlight for it. From A2, you can highlight, yeah, A2 all the way to B26, yeah, B26. So you can see here, A2 to B26. That's the criteria. And then the next thing is what? What's the criteria? Well, the criteria is what? We want to find the Dr. Pepper, yeah, Coke. So you type D2 here. That's D2, right? You can highlight D2. So I'm close with the parenthesis. And then now you can see I have, oh, now it only shows the formula, yeah, but not the value. So what you can do is, I have it here. One possibility that I see is simply display formula. When this occurs, try hitting Control and this key together. This key is on the key next to the number 1 key. Okay, so you Control and that key together. Control that key together. The formula disappears. Now we have the 19. That's the count. But if you click this Control that key again, and it shows the formula. So we can do the same thing for what? We can do the same thing for Diet Coke. Yeah, for Diet Coke. For Diet Coke is, again, I would like to count if highlight the data. I actually don't need to, I just copy the formula now. A2 to B26. Yeah. And now the criteria is D3, which is Diet Coke. Then I will display again, yeah. So, all right. So, any questions? So this is how you basically, in this case, let me finish the whole thing, yeah. Copy. Be careful. Here is A2, yeah. A2 to B26. And this one to count A2 to B26, comma D5, yeah, D5. I'm looking for Pepsi. And then the last one is equal to count if and A2 to B26, that's the same data range, and D6. And then if I control that key again, the key next to number 1, now I have this nice distribution, frequency distribution. Okay. So again, the formula that you will be using is the formula you will be using. Let me show you the formula. Is that clear? Hold on. Ah, boy. Control. Okay. So the formula that you will be using, this is the formula. Yeah, this is the formula. The first part, A2 to B26, is you highlight the data range. And D2 is criteria. D2 is here, right? That's the code. Okay. So now by doing this, we generate a frequency distribution. That's pretty easy, right? That's pretty easy. But this is for category data. Category data. So like how for classification, yeah, nominal data or ordinal data. But how about if you have quantitative data? Like this is, let's say, the quiz score for a class. And you can see I have how many data values. 5 times 4, 40, yeah? I have 40 data points. And is that too many? If we, it's possible we can create a frequency table like this one. But the problem is what? the problem is there are too many unique values. For the categorical data, we only have limited category. Coca-Cola, 1, 2, 3, 5. But how about this one? For quantitative data, imagine this is for all HPU students. We have 80,000 students. Then we have many different unique values. It's not efficient way. So a more efficient way is to put them into what? To put them into, it's called beings or classes. You can see in this case the audited times is from 10 to 14, then 15 to 19, 20 to 24, 25 to 29, 30 to 35. It's 4. So I have five groups. Well, I mean, you may have a question. Okay, why do you have 5 groups? It's up to you. You can actually sometimes I have the criteria here, right? The approximate being weights is the largest data value minus the smallest data value divided by the number of beings. So if the largest value is 100, smallest value is 0. So that's the top is 100. Then the number of beings you want to only have 5 beings. So 100 divided by 5. So the width for each class, each being is 20. And this is sometimes pretty subjective, but most of the time I think like 5 to 8 categories of beings will be more than sufficient. That's the rule of thumb. Okay, so in this case we have 5 beings. And now pay attention, for each being there's 2 numbers, the lower end and the upper end. Yeah, the lower limit and the upper limit. So now and then we can count how many people, how many account is in between 10 to 14 minutes, yeah, a days, and how many accounts the audit times between 15 to 19 days. But pay attention to those groups are mutually exclusive. You cannot have like the first group of 10 to 16, second one is 15 to 19, which is because you have overlapping, but you cannot have overlapping. It has to be mutually exclusive. And then we can ask the computer to, once we set up the beings, and we can ask the computer to basically to do the work for us. Generate the frequency, relative frequency, and the percentage of frequency. We can even ask the computer to help us to generate, it's called a histogram. Histogram is very similar to a bar graph, but it is for quantitative data. So it's a common graphical presentation of quantitative data. So what we needed to do is, let me show you how to do this. Yeah, let me show you how to do it. So you can see the classification. This is for the classification purpose. So I have all the beings here. Yeah, the beings here, classes here, number of counts. So the vertical axis can be frequency or relative frequency or percentage. But how do we generate this histogram? So let me show you the data I have here. So it's the audited time. I have the data set. It's called audited time. Audited data. Yeah, audited. It's a very small data set. So now for this data set, we also needed to be very careful. We needed to create the beings. But in this case, the beings, what are the beings? The beings are the upper limit of each class. You see here, this is the desired classes of beings. So you needed to put only the upper limit. And then Excel knows. 14, 19, 24, 29, 34. So I put 14, 19, 24, and 29, and 34. Those are the beings. So once we have this, we can use Excel data analysis and to instruct the computer to do to create the histogram. Okay. So what you can do is you can go to the top. You find stuff from File, Home, Insert, Page Layout, Formula, Data, Vertical Data. So once you have the Excel add-ins installed, you see the data analysis. So I click on data analysis. And then here I can select histogram. Yeah, I can select histogram. So then we click OK. You click OK. Then Excel will ask you to provide import range. Where's the data? You click this little arrow here, and then highlight the data. Yep, highlight it. Then that's all. That's all. And also ask you to then we click here. It asks you where's the bin range. Where the bin range is here. So I highlight here. Okay. And the labels. Well, you will select the label if you highlight not only the data values but also the labels, the variable names. But I didn't do that, so I didn't select the labels. Okay, and then I can create the chart. You select the chart output. Chart output. Then we will have a very nice. I'm not sure if it's nice or not, but you will have a histogram. Let's click OK. You see this histogram? It's pretty nice. Pretty nice. You see the bins and also the classes. The classes. That's and then actually, if you want to, you can change in the bins. Yeah. Remember, first group is 10 to 14. You change this and 10 to 14. That's the trouble. If that's okay, don't worry. You put this on. Type of this first. 10 to 14. So you can see here the group, yeah. And the second group is what? I put this comma on the top, yeah. And then 15 to 19. You see here it changes, yeah. And the next group is what? 20 to 24. And the next group is 25. No, wait. 25 to 25 to what? Hold on. 25 to 29. And the last group is 30 to 34. Yeah, nice. And more is we don't have more, yeah. So basically, probably I can just delete this. Okay. But now the problem is what the bins are not you can also change in the for this chart, yeah, you can also change in this histogram frequency bins. That's pretty nice. Then we can also, but you can see the bins here. There's a gap here, but we can reduce the gap. So if you click here, double click, yeah, double click, and then here you can see the gap width. If you reduce the gap width to 0, then there will be no gap here. No gap. And then we click OK. You can see there's no gap. So basically, I mean, it's not pretty, but anyway, you see those are the histograms that we want to generate. So let me quickly review what we did. Review what we did. First one is for this data set. You needed to basically decide the bins or groups first. Once you have that in your mind, you can put the upper limit of the bins here. Okay. Then you can go to where? Data. And the data analysis. Histogram. So you can highlight the data. Then click here, highlight the bins. Yeah, you can highlight the bins. And then select chart output. Click OK, and generates a nice chart. Nice chart. You can change those groups. Now you can actually the bins you can change into whatever. I mean, the group you want. Yeah, you can say group 1. Yeah, group 1, group 2. And to reduce the width, to remove the gap here, you just double click here and reduce the gap width to 0. And that's all. That's the histogram. Okay, not too bad. So I have the instruction here. So basically in this case, the histogram will let us to basically observe the distribution. So you can see this distribution is pretty nice. this one, C, is pretty nice because it's less symmetric. The left side equal right side. This isn't like a normal distribution. And how about this distribution? This distribution is skewed to the left. Why left? Because the tail, the head is here, right? The tail is on the left. So whether it's skewed to the left or right, it depends on the tail, not the head. So the tail is on the left, so this is skewed to the left. And how about this one? It's skewed to the right because the tail is on the right. Same thing like this one is skewed to the right. But we'll take a look at why it's important to have a distribution like a symmetric distribution like this. And in general though, if you have if you generate a sample, if sample size is more than 30, then any distribution will follow a normal distribution or a symmetric distribution like this. Okay. And the last piece is cumulative percentage. Now cumulative percentage is easy to you basically, if you look at the frequency table, yeah, this is the frequency table. But sometimes we want to know like how many accounts are less or equal to the number of time is less or equal to 14 days. That's 4. But how many are less or equal to 19 days? So you will include what? 4 plus 8, 12, right? How many are less than 24? So you will include everything from the first group and second group, 4 plus 8 plus 5, which is 17. So by doing this, you can generate a cumulative frequency, for cumulative frequency. So less or equal to 14. Basically, less or equal to the upper limit of each group. Then you can, that's total is 20, right? Total is 20. Okay, so that's for the how to use Excel to generate the distribution table, frequency table, for both qualitative data and quantitative data. Okay.